Cool. One of the things I'm doing right now is the One Funnel Away challenge through ClickFunnels. Why? One, because it's awesome to be able to have like a 30-day challenge where that forces you to actually compress everything you know and are learning into an actual day-by-day experience. The One Funnel Away challenge was created because Russell Brunson, the actual founder, was trying to think of ways to help out his community, right? And he always says you're always one funnel away from success, from a breakthrough, from all that type of stuff, right? And that's based off his experience of having a company for the last 10 years that would go through these ups and downs, and they would get out of the downs by building just one more funnel and selling a bunch of stuff and getting out of debt, paying off payroll tax, all that type of stuff. Anyway, so today's challenge is all about belief. When you sign up for the One Funnel Away challenge, you get a book, you get a booklet, you get the 30 days. If you suddenly lose everything and had to start all over, you get this 30-day book. All it comes in this sweet box, right? So, everybody loves to unbox stuff, and then inside it's got all sorts of junk that it all comes in. I got mine a month ago, so I've thrown away half the stuff. You also get this cool little, since everything's kind of Mission Impossible themed, you get like a little MP3 player with all the recordings and trainings on it, so you can listen to it, pretend you're Ethan Hunt, and go from there. Anyway, so you get all that cool stuff, and then you dive into it. You get into access to a Facebook community where you're able to report your progress for the day, that you've completed the homework and done all sorts of stuff, which is cool. It's really, really cool. You've got a community to support you, lots of newbies. There's lots of veterans who dive in there and also just create little side groups, support groups, which is awesome. So if you got questions, you can jump into a veteran group and ask some people, hey, I don't get this, how do I do this, that type of stuff. Anyway, so that's kind of the whole gist of the One Funnel Away challenge. It's 5-week challenge. Each week has a theme that you focus on. First week is all about pre-training and fixing your belief, right? So here is the map of what you go through. And you're just figuring out, getting your head straight, which is really important. I do coaching and consulting with clients for my business, right? For Site Smash, as you can tell. And one of the things that we do is help people actually understand the fundamentals of marketing. And I found that when people don't understand the fundamentals of marketing, that they actually don't ever grow as a company. They try doing all that latest fads and fashions and everything like that. And those are all just flashes in the pan and not the whole picture. I feel it's the same way with any time you do anything, right? You have to get the fundamentals right. And one of the most basic fundamentals is getting your head straight. If you don't ever believe you can actually do something, you're never actually going to be able to accomplish it, right? 9 times out of 10, when I think I, can't do this, I don't, right? Every once in a while I'll surprise myself, but I've already lost up here, so of course I'm not going to win out there. Anyway, so day 1 was just going over the framework of the whole training, but then there's also these questions that we go over, right? Things that prevent you from moving forward are fears that get in the way, right? And so part of this, there's a little workbook where you fill out what your fears are and how you're going to crush them. So I'm going to be a little vulnerable right now and share what some of my fears have been that I feel might be holding me back from actually accomplishing what I think I can actually do. Anyway, so fear number 1. I don't know if you know this, but I've had a few businesses fail. I don't think I've been successful at a lot of things for a long time. In fact, a couple months ago, I just found myself kind of sitting in my office, working away at client stuff, working with things. I just kind of felt like, man, I need a win. Like, life is hard. My business is going okay, but I'm so busy all the time. I don't feel like I'm ever making much progress. I've got a couple of happy clients. I've got some clients that probably aren't really happy with me because they're not my favorite clients, and I do an okay job for them, but they're hard clients to work with, or they're just hard industries that they're in, and I'm having, beat my head against the wall trying to figure out how to help them. And I mean, I've had essentially 2 failures of a business. SIBO Development failed while I was at getting my MBA program, and then I'd say this last year, my business partner at the time, Jesse, and I, we parted ways. We had different ideas that about how we wanted to run the business, and we parted ways on good terms, right? He decided he wanted to do more content. I wanted to go more the coaching route. But again, I was starting over, and anytime you start over, you kind of feel like you're failing. So that's kind of my first fear right now, is that I'm afraid I'm going to fail again. I'm going to try, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail and fail. And for a while there, I actually thought I had some pretty good failure stamina where I tell myself failing forward is the way to go, right? You just keep failing forward, you'll get better and better and better. But after you fail a while and don't have any like home runs or wins, like you just kind of wear out, you get exhausted. So that's fear number 1, is that I'm going to give all these challenges my best shot. I know a lot. I know a lot about marketing. I know a lot about funnels. I know a lot about training and marketing teams and all sorts of stuff. But sometimes, the smartest person in the room is also often the dumbest person in the room, especially if they don't act on what they know. It's like not knowing it all. So that's one of my big fears, that I'm going to fail again. So I'm doing this to kind of give myself a quick win and boost my confidence and ego a little bit. And how am I going to crush that fear? I'm going to move forward anyway. I'm just going to keep moving and moving and moving. I heard the analogy of water that's always moving, is always improving and changing and nourishing the area around it. Whereas water that's stagnant gets dirty, filthy, full of disease, breeds mosquitoes, things like that. So motion is what keeps you keeps you growing. So fear number 2. Sometimes I'm afraid of success, to be honest. I grew up in poor, didn't know we were poor, but we grew up on a farm, loved my childhood, loved my upbringing, loved growing up on a farm. But we never had any, like, hand-me-downs was everything. There were a couple times I had earned money selling pigs at the fair, and I used that money to buy myself or help pay for half of my own Christmas gifts. They were bigger gifts, like a train set and guns and things like that, right? Because my parents had set a $100 limit, and my dad wanted to get me a gun, and that cost, I think, $200, so I ended up paying for half the gun. Things like that, right? Like we never really had a huge abundance of wealth growing up. We had enough to get by, and we had a farm with a large garden, and my mom canned like crazy, and we were comfortable. Like we weren't, living in a shack in the middle of nowhere eating out of dumpsters. But we weren't rich. And somewhere along the line, I started to believe that that's good enough, right? I don't need to have tons and tons of wealth and riches, and that a poor lifestyle is acceptable. I think it's a false belief that I need to reject, right? There's nothing wrong with accumulating riches and wealth. With wealth is nothing more than a tool to me, and by being able to have that tool, it gives me more freedom to be able to wield it wisely, right? So charities, freedom of time to spend with family, wife, friends, things like that. It's somewhere along the way I just decided that by gaining more money, I'm gonna ruin my life. Anyway, so that's fear number 2, is that if I am successful enough and have a ton of money, I'm just gonna become this total douchebag a-hole that you see, right? That everybody fears money turns them into. How am I going to crush that? Well, like I said before, money is just a tool. In Acton, Acton was the program that I did for my MBA program, and part of that was understanding how you handle money and how you view money and things like that. And while there, I kind of learned that I'm more of a spender, not so much a saver. And it's probably because we never had it growing up, so I would just spend it to get stuff like the moment it comes in. And knowing what I don't want to become, I don't want wealth to change me into this royal, rich, posh douchebag who, super uppity, things like that. I think just knowing that, like, I'll be able to check myself on a regular basis saying, have I become that person? And if I have, then I need to change and modify that. third fear I have is that what I'm focusing my time and energies on isn't my calling in life, right? I believe everybody has talents and skills, and those skills help them execute a calling in their life. When I think of callings, you always think of like the Dalai Lama and Steve Jobs and Mother Teresa and all these people who were very prominent public figures who actually, you could tell they found their calling in life. Sometimes a little bit later in life, but they found it and they were able to make an impact on the world. And I'm scared that if I invest a ton of time and energy into executing things, building this business, that I might build the wrong business and I'll miss out on my calling for life, right? Which is kind of a dumb notion, but fears aren't exactly rational, right? So how I rationalize that is that every business I do now is a practice business. And whether it fails or succeeds, I'm going to develop some skills that are going to help me be more successful in the next one I do. And I'm going to learn about myself and about the industry or the business or the customers I went into. And I'm going to start to be able to whittle down what it is my calling is. I really think that's how callings are discovered, right? You just try a bunch of stuff and you slowly narrow the region of darkness around those things that you gravitate towards the most. And the more in tune you get with understanding what those things are that are pulling you towards that, whatever that is, that you're calling, the better. That makes sense. Anyway, but at the worst case scenario, I develop a bunch of skills. I become expert at selling and marketing and copywriting and reading and speaking and all sorts of stuff, which frankly are all things I wish I would have had college courses on anyway, because I've used those skills way more than I have algebra or anything else, right? So anyway, so how do I know that I'm going to be able to have the certainty to actually accomplish these things? Well, my background religiously is that I'm LDS, and we in the LDS Church and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints believe that we are children of God. And as a result of being a child of God, you have inherited specific attributes and traits of that Heavenly Father, right? Just like you inherit genetic traits from your parents here, you can inherit like heavenly traits from your Heavenly Father. So I tell myself that on a regular basis, that I'm a child of God and therefore I have His divine potential, which gives me kind of a little bit of oomph, a little bit of encouragement, and helps me get through the hard times and get through the doubts. Because if you think of yourself as an individual that has divine potential, that you have the ability to get through things, that there's untapped reservoirs of strength, of a spiritual nature that push you through hard things, like those are great motivators, really, really great motivators. So every time I get stuck now, I'm just going to think about that. Probably going to get down on my knees and pray a lot. I'm going to ask for help, which is something that's really hard for me to do. I like being independent. I'm a private individual. Making these videos is hard for me because I pull back the curtain on my private life and I'm sharing. I'm doing that trying to get out of my comfort zone, because that's usually where success lies, is outside your comfort zone. And then I'm just going to do what I do best, which is think through and problem solve whatever challenges I'm facing. And I'm pretty sure between, my intelligence and problem solving skills and asking for help from other people, like there's no way forward, or there's always a way forward, I should say. Like there's no way that I'm not going to find a way forward. So every time I feel doubt and insecurity, I'm just going to remember that you're always one funnel away, or you're always, one challenge away, one success away, whatever it is. There's always some small thing you can accomplish that gets you just a little bit further towards the end of your goal. Anyway, so these are all things that are found in these daily challenges. And so what I'm going to do is every time I go through and complete these challenges every day, I'll share my answers with you. And you can essentially go through this challenge with me as we work through this. So I'm trying to put on some beginner's eyes, look at things from a fresh perspective, trying not to go through this stuff and think, I already know this stuff. I do believe that with a level of competency and expertise, you actually kind of become blind to things that beginners would see, and you lose out on learnings. So that's what I learned. That's what I've done for day 1 of the OFA challenge. With day 2, looks like we're going to go talking about what failure and what it teaches us, and once I complete that, I'll teach you on that. So tune back tomorrow when I create a video on that. Cheers!